So, uh, I want to speak to you today about Shankara. This is the main entrance to our kutir, and we have Shankara at the entrance along with our Sudguru Swami Sivananda Saraswati. The reason why they are there is because Shankara is what we call as our Param Guru or the first Guru. All the people who are the title of Swami are following the Guru Shishya Parampara of Shankara. And then a renunciate would have three parts to his name. First is, of course, the Swami, which is a title that is given to you when you become a renunciate. The second is your name, which is again a spiritual name that is given. In my name, it is Satchitananda. And the third part is a line that we follow. And that line, our line is called Saraswati. Saraswati is, as you know, the goddess of learning and education and the person who holds the knowledge of the Vedas with her. So, one of the lines which Shankara established was called Saraswati. Swami Sivananda was also Shivananda Saraswati. Therefore, anybody whom he initiates, or his guru or his disciple initiates, will fall in the line of Saraswati. So, why is Shankara so important? I'm surprised that even in India, many people are just not aware of it. Right? Maybe people are aware a little bit about Vedas, a little bit about the rituals they may even follow, but not many people are aware of Vedanta. And that surprised me. I thought that everybody should know about it. So that's why I thought it's appropriate that I speak a little bit more on Vedanta and why Shankara is so important to this whole process. Okay. Shankara was a historical figure of 7th century AD, and during that time India was a Buddhist country. Right? Starting from 6th century BC, India was a full Buddhist country, and there were massive kings of high esteem who were there in India. And one of the reasons why Buddhism attracted people at the time when Buddha came in was because he said these people are just following rituals of the Vedas. They are not really interested in the higher aspect of growth and personality and all that. So, and he was right, because a time had come when the rituals, which consists of the first part of the Vedas, called Purva Vedas, are very powerful, and they used to give certain powers also and certain benefits also. So what happened was that India as a country, Bharat as a country, became a kind of a ritualistic country. And you know that once you start a ritual, it goes on. People after that don't even ask what the ritual means, just follow it. So that was what was happening when he came in. Then when Shankara came in, what he did was, he saw that most of the people were not aware of the whole context of the Vedas as it were. Okay? Because Vedas is very, very old, revealed knowledge, you say, okay? And this is maybe 5,000, 10,000 years, we don't know. We can put any amount, any year in that, but it doesn't make sense. Because really we don't know. It's an oral transmission going on from Guru to Shishya to Guru to Shishya. So, what is so fascinating about Shankara was that he lived for 32 years. Okay? Obviously, he was more than a genius, because by the time he was 16, he has done all his life's work, which means that he has done all his interpretation of the Vedas, all his interpretation of the more aspect of Vedas, which is called Vedanta, which comes in the end part. And he had done terrific amount of work, writing and things like that. And by the time he was 16, he had finished with that work. From 16 to 32, he just went around the country, from kingdom to kingdom. At that time, you can call it country to country, trying to convince the people that they have not understood the real value of Vedas, and that he is the one who can explain it to them, and they are open to come for debates in this. So every country, what used to happen, the king had a philosopher. He will say, who is your philosopher? So call him. And we will have a discussion. If I lose, I become your disciple. If you lose, you follow what I am saying. And it was a debate very seriously taken at that time. And the king used to be there. And this process used to go on. And this is how he was able to convince the other philosophers of all these kingdoms that they did not have a proper perspective of the Vedas, and it's not just a ritualistic aspect, there is much more to it than that. And he was able to convince, and in fact, they say that the Vedic culture, which seemed to almost disappear from Bharat as a country, came back again thanks to the work done by Shankara, and who was considered in fact an avatar of Shiva himself because of his genius and the work that he was doing. So, what is this Vedanta part? The Vedanta part, people say in the West, I have read many people write about it. They say it's a philosophy. Okay? Philosophy about what? Philosophy about human being, philosophy about life, philosophy about so many things. Human growth and so on and so forth. Now, actually, the Vedanta part is the last part of the Vedas which does not deal with any ritual at all. It deals only with the knowledge. And it deals with knowledge of only one subject. And that subject is called Atma or Brahma. Right? I'm trying to answer the question, what is the final substratum on which this universe exists? Even scientists are doing it today. They are talking about God particle. They are trying to find out a God equation, because they all want to find out what is the final substratum, the basis on which the universe exists. Okay? So what they have done, they looked at this thing outside, the world outside, the universe outside, galaxies and suns and planets and moons and what have you. Then they also looked at the atom, which is the building block of the whole creation. And now effort has been made in the last 20, 30 years to understand what is the content of the atom. And it's again a very fuzzy deal. Okay? You think you know, but you don't know. Scientists say, if you open up an atom, you don't know what is inside that. And so they had this one thing called the God particle. They say boson. Boson is the one that gives mass, weight to something. Because everything is moving. Everything is energy. It doesn't have any weight. What is it that gives? So that was discovered sometime in 2008, I think. After that, no particle has been found in the subatomic system. And therefore, what they have done, there is a place called CERN, C-E-R-N, where they take an atomic particle and bash it against another atomic particle at close to speed of light. And then they examine what are all the elements of that particular atom. So this has been going on, But we say that it cannot touch this idea of consciousness because it's not in the perceivable field. Science works on the basis of observed phenomena. If they have something to observe, then they can observe it using whatever facilities we have available with us. And they use logic and inference to come to some position with regard to the reality. Now, this is a subject in which it is not possible to objectify, it's not possible to see, it's not possible to smell. There are no qualities by which this can be known. So Vedanta is supposed to be like another organ which uses words to reveal something which is not knowable by the senses. That is why it's called revealed knowledge. Vedanta is called revealed knowledge. And so Shankara has written his commentary on that. He has written also Tattvabodha, Atmabodha, certain preliminary notes on his, the Vivek Chudamani, which is on the functioning of the mind and all those things. And then of course he has written his commentary on Bhagavad Gita. He has written his commentary on all the Upanishads, about 10, 12 Upanishads, which is the Vedanta. Vedanta is called Upanishad. About 10, 12 of them he has selected and has written his commentary on that. And then he has written something called on commentary on Brahma Sutra, okay, which is a logic on nuances of logic that you need to know to understand this concept of Atman. Okay. So he was able to convince them that the first part of the Vedas is only a preparatory part for a human being, which deals with the goals of Artha, Kama and Dharma. Okay? That is security, enjoyment and fun, and Dharma, okay? Which is the law of the universe, which you need to apply to be able to maintain a unit of family and a society. So this is the first part. These are all the preparatory parts. The last part is only pure knowledge. And his contention was that only knowledge can give you an idea about this concept called Atman and Brahman. No amount of karma, no amount of work, no amount of meditation, no amount of headstands is going to be able to give you that. Because action is not opposed to ignorance. Right? For ignorance of this concept, you need knowledge, just as you need light to light up a dark area. You can't use anything else to do it. There is only one thing available, that's light. Similarly, knowledge is the only basis on which this can be known. And he gave his explanation and he explained how the pyramid of Vedas culminates in the highest concept at Vedanta. Right? And then he said, come, talk to me, discuss with me. Let's find out. Let you debate, I debate, we'll come to a question. And then that's how he was able to bring back a country which was actually a Buddhist country back to the tradition of Veda and Vedic learning. Okay. And that's why he is considered to be Param Guru. We call him first Guru. So what is this Vedanta about? As I told you, see, Vedanta people don't seem to know. Some people in the West seem to understand something. Few people know about it. Okay? But the beauty of it is that I think it is the best book on psychology that you can get in the world. Right? So I have done something on Western psychology, had the opportunity to study up to the PhD level in that. At least a little lower than the PhD, philosopher in psychology. But then, if you look at Vedanta, which we have been looking at for some time now, it's the best psychological model available, which is logical, which is open to rationality, at the same time culminates in something very meaningful. So I don't think it is a philosophy at all. Philosophy is something you know, but you can't do much about it, really, is it? Philosophy is an intellectual process in the mind where you know something, but in real application you cannot do. On the other hand, my own experience has been, when studying this subject, that it is perhaps the most practical, meaningful approach to understanding yourself. Right? There is no better way to the best of my knowledge. It is completely comprehensive. It can answer any questions that are raised logically. Okay? And therefore, I consider it to be the best psychological book that you can ever get hold of. Okay, more than anything else. Today, people are struggling. What are they struggling about? Slowly, the organized religion is breaking up. right? People are little wary of the culture where you go to churches or mosques or temples, and certain rituals are followed. They get some logical explanation, they don't get logical explanation. They are dependent on some priest and somebody who says that I've seen God, all right? And based on that, they have been also disappointed. And these disappointed people, they now talk in terms of spirituality. Okay? So I am a spiritual person. You don't have to go through certain rituals and all that. This is not for me. So Vedanta is about spirituality, because it says that a human being consists of two parts. One is the physical part, which consists of the body-mind complex, gross body and subtle bodies. The mind is a very subtle amount of physical matter. And then it also consists of another part, which is called the Atman, or the spirit, if you want to use it English word, or the consciousness, or Sat Chit Ananda. Okay? That element in the human being, which is the basis of everything else, okay? Including your own awareness of the universe. So it is, first of all, a person has to know that this is there. I've been asking the question, why is it that people can't see their spiritual life? Do they need to be told this? In fact, all of us, we know that there's some element of us which is spiritual. We know that. Because when we come to a problem, when we come to a point where we cannot deal with the things which are world outside, we suddenly go to the concept of God and spirit and talking to the universe and so on and so forth, meditation and so on and so forth. Because there's something in us which tells us, no, you are much more than the body. You are much more than the body. And we know that we are much more than the body, and that is what Vedanta reveals. That first thing you must understand is, you are much more than the body. As you go through this revealed knowledge, because it's called revealed knowledge, as you go through this revealed knowledge, you can come to your own conclusion on that or not. So I think people are becoming more spiritual. They want to know basic question of, what is this world about? How can I deal with it better? Because the problems in our life have only become more. Maybe comforts have become a little more, but the problems have become insane. Right? The number of people with mental health problems are increasing so much that you don't really know who is sane and who is not sane. And in this world, people are seeking some method by which they can negotiate it well. Therefore, spirituality makes sense. Okay? Spirituality makes sense because they said that, how do I find this out? And this is where Vedanta I see not as a philosophy, but as a very, very practical guide that can actually be understood and implemented in one's life here. I am not speaking this out of other people's experience. I can only speak from my experience, because this is what I know, this is what the scriptures say, this is what I've understood well. So this is all that I can say. It's not a philosophy, first of all. So if you're thinking you're coming into Vedanta to understand some philosophy, wrong. You're coming, if you're at all coming to this, you're coming to understand the nature of the world outside and your own nature. And unless you know that, your own nature well, you cannot negotiate the world outside. Right? This is what spirituality is about. And what it says is that you are not, that Atman is the fundamental concept of the whole universe, the substratum of the whole universe also. That is what gives sensuality to this body-mind, which you value so much. It is just a piece of material, piece of thing made out of food. You will burn it, you will bury it, you will do anything. It has no value. If you want value, then this sensuality is what gives it value. And you must understand this. And if you understand this, The biggest payoff that comes out from that is that the pain that comes from knowing that you are a limited person, that you have limitations in life, that you can do certain things and cannot do certain things, that pain that comes from fear of losing something, because everything is temporary. Those kind of fears disappear, right? And that's a big deal. Can you imagine that a person can actually live in this world fearlessly? Is it possible for you to even imagine that? We not only imagine it, we live that way, and we know people who live that way. It is not some concoction of the mind. But for an ordinary person to tell him that can you live without fear? Yes, it's not possible. So we all seek happiness. And in that concept, what happens when you go back to religion again? You are talking about the concept of heaven. Some place called heaven. Has anybody gone to heaven and come back to tell you what is heaven all about? Any one person? No. What we are saying is, let heaven be there. If you believe in it, believe, continue to believe. You don't mind. But heaven is here on earth. We called it the Garden of Eden, right? It's the Garden of Eden, right? So everything that is beautiful in the universe is here, right in front of you and nose, alive and kicking. And you can convert this same place either into a hell or into heaven. That choice is left to me. And I think it's possible to convert this place into heaven. Many people, individuals, live with that. It's not a theory, it's a practical thing. You don't have to go somewhere to go to heaven. If you can't see heaven here, it's possible that you can never see heaven elsewhere. It's not possible for you to see. If it's not possible for you to see the underlying principle of consciousness and Atma here, you will never ever see it. Okay? So these are sound philosophical, but in fact very practical. Now this I can say with confidence because I won't say I am one of those sannyasis who became a renunciate at a very young age. I did not. I went through the process of working for a job, making money, having a family, and then after that I left the city to this space. So I can see very clearly the difference between that life there and the difference of this idea of freedom, the idea of non-dependency, the idea of living fearlessly is not a theory. Now, my request to you is that please try to understand more with the proper text. Go to the right people with the proper text. You will find that the human capacity is practically unlimited. This is indicated through the power of the yogis. It has got tremendous power. The things of which you can never imagine. But we practically use in our life, Adlina, 5%, 10%, maybe. Not even that. But the human capacity is immense. So if you really want to understand that, if you really want to know who you are, if you really want to position yourself in life where you can stand fearlessly, then this is the path, right? And in this path, what Shankara says is you use your mind. The Vedanta will give you a pathway. I will explain it to you clearly what it is, but then you also use your mind. So you can't just sit in meditation and say, understood. No, you have to use your mind. Use your mind and use your own logic and see whether it fits in or not. After it fits in, then you can talk about understanding this concept. So to me, I think in the next 100 years, maybe 150 years, Vedanta and whatever it has to offer is going to become one of the most powerful forces in the world. Alright? Because people want this, people need this. But there are not adequate people to talk about it. There are more people talking about it today than there were maybe 100 years back. But this is not enough. We need more people. So what are we doing today to solve the problem? We have got certain people who act as psychologists and counselors. All of us have gone there once in a lifetime or the other, right? But they themselves are flawed. How can they guide you? When the person who is guiding you is flawed, how can they guide you? This is what I don't understand. Where you've got a listening post out there, you spent your money, person will listen to it. That's about it. And if they want to solve a problem, they probably give you a tablet or some medication to solve the problem. Not through understanding, not through knowledge. And this is an area where we say the knowledge is revealed because it's so close to us that we cannot see it. Because we ourselves are that. So in Sanskrit, one of the Mahavakya, the main saying, is called Tat Tvam Asi. That means that you are. That substratum of everything. That highest principle called the Atma is you. It's not to be, it's not outside somewhere. Tat Tvam Asi. Okay? It is also a message which is given to a person who takes sannyas or takes to renunciation. The first night, the Guru will tell in the ear of the disciple, Tat Tvam Asi. So know this. And the disciple has to say, Aham Brahma Asmi. I am the Brahman. I am the underlying consciousness. I am that spirit which cannot be held by the body-mind complex. So this is the mind-blowing beauty and concept, and something which can be lived, right? And if you want to know, if you haven't met people, come here, I'll show you people who live like that. Unless you see people who live like that, you will say this is all some story. No stories. I can show you people. They live like that. And you'll be surprised what beautiful that life can be. How beautiful this whole universe, this world can be. So this is the contribution of Shankara. I never imagined in my life at any point of time that such a thing is possible. But today when somebody comes to me, I go up to them and tell them, yes, it is possible. You want to see people like that? Come, I'll show you. You want to learn? Come, I'll teach you. Right? So, our great prostrations to Shankara, and in the line of Saraswati, Swami Sivananda, who was a builder of gurus. He was not teaching people. He was making gurus. He just left seeds here and there all over the world. Today there are still people who follow, understand him. There are still people to whom he communicates. And there are still people who are doing what is good for divine life, good for people to break through. Right? So his statue is also here. The reason why we put the statue is because we are in Mahabalipuram. It's a place where they make stone statues for all the temples. And we are close by here. We don't have to pay transport because a thing like this weighs about 450 kgs. It will cost more to take it than to make it. So we are graced with this beautiful statues at the entrance to remind us that this is where we have to go. These are the people we have to follow. And I'm sure there will be other occasions when I will get an opportunity to talk more about this. But don't come to a conclusion before coming to know what it is. And if you want to know what it is, you're welcome to come here, talk to me, talk to our friends who have come here, and see whether there is any reality in this at all. Hari Om.